Hello, and welcome to Gunnar Weisskamp's Web Development. This is lesson 4. We're doing C# code constructs and looking at how we add references. These are all sort of somewhat beginner issues, so if you're in that category, hopefully these will help. So first, in here we will look at switch, if, for, and while code statements or constructs. These code statements allow you to process certain code logic. Okay, yeah, there you go. We will also have an introduction into the reference area of a project. We will create a class library and add that as a reference. If you want to create today's tutorial, I'm using 2013. Just do new project, as in here in A, and my framework here is 4.5. Make sure Visual Studio is selected. We're just doing a simple console application because these sort of demonstrations go well for console application. So yeah. Righto, so let's go and grab some. So here's our application. Let's start there. As you can see, very empty. Nothing in there. Just your basic standard console app. So let's make it a little bit more interesting, and that's right, it's time to grab some code. So these are commonly used code constructs. Even so, some of them, and this might sound a bit negative, you might never really use at all, and these are early primitive code constructs. Some of them, there are more advanced ones which I'll try to cover later, such as the for each. I'll just leave that as that. Compared to like the for loop you have in front of you, the for each is a bit, it does things slightly different, but I'm just saying some of these code constructs are quite still useful, but some have moved on as well. So this one here, first of all, we talked about variables before. We've just created an int there. What we have here is a for loop. And what is a for loop? So normally a for loop will do something for a certain time. It normally takes 3 items in it, and they're all separated by these commas here. They doesn't have to have these 3 parameters. It can function without 3. But so the first one here, what we're doing here is we're setting the counter. In this case, this I variable is the counter in this for loop to 1. What it's going to do is going to keep going, doing the stuff here in the middle until it's less than or equal the number 20. This increments the counter. So I++, which is maybe a new process for some people, all that does is after each iteration it'll add 1 to it. So this will go, it'll start off at 1, and then after the next iteration will be 2, all the way up till 20, sorry. So what are we doing inside here? We are simply going to increment our variable here. So it starts off at 0, it'll become 1, and we're going to print that out to the screen, just so we have some magic happening. Let's build that. So as mentioned before, the for loop, you don't have to pass the 3 constructs. Sometimes the loop that you're creating might not need those. So yeah, it's quite flexible in many ways. Okay, it's doing its magical build stuff. Oh, yes, build succeed. And as you can see there, we've simply we've simply just printed the number 1 to 20 out in the screen, because each time this goes around, this adds 1 to this variable here. So this starts off at 1, prints out 1, then it goes around again, turns that into 2, and then prints out 2 here, so forth and so forth, until the loop says, oh, you're greater than this value here, stop, and it bottoms out. So this isn't really, this is just showing you how it works. There are many times when you've got to do this sort of process. I'm just trying to think of it, one off the top of my head, even though I've written thousands. If you're counting through the days of the week for a special event, you might have to go through a certain process there to find that certain event in that. So this sort of code logic is quite popular, used quite a lot. Okay, so that's our for loop there. Let me grab our second little guy. So our second little guy looks like a lot of code logic and looks a lot more complex than this guy here. But it's, well, it's not once you know what's what. This is our switch statement. So what this does here is it takes in a value here. This is sort of value to compare, and it compares each of these statements. So here, as an example, it says, does this item here contain this item here? Is it that character? If so, in our case here, we're going to print this letter to the screen. And then what it does, you can then stop, you can, what it's called, break, and these further conditions will not happen. So it'll then go onto the read line here. So that's what the break does. It's not compulsory to break, but it makes sense to put it in there at times. You can have two statements for one condition. So in here we said if it's the letter G and if it's the symbol percentage, do this action. So either one of these, if it's G or the percentage symbol, do this action here. So that's how that works. These can be multiplied. These ones here, just repeat the first one we roughly did. And you can have also a default. So if in this item here, if it doesn't match any of these at all, this guy will happen. So for the first letter that we've put in here, we've got this question mark. So we should see this statement here come out. It would be good to maybe have these difference so you can see the actual effect. Let's do it here. 1, 2, oops, just so it's really clear for 5. Let's run that. So we should say for my favorite symbol is, and then the question mark. There we go. So exactly that. For my favorite symbol is and the question mark. So because we've gotten here, this guy, our question mark goes in here, it compares that to its next one down, and that's that guy here and does its magic. Yeah. So let's prove the other concept. If we have the pound symbol in there, it should go into this area here. So it should come up with 2. Number 2, my favorite symbol is, and the favorite letter there, which will be the pound symbol. Not the pound. Percentage symbol. Come on. Here we go. Whoa, okay, so yeah, my favorite symbol is percentage. So 2, we can see that one there come up, and if we put in G, it would go for that as well. Just so we're all making sure that this default guy will function. When my little blue screen allows me to, let's put in M. Oops, whoa, M. So M is nowhere here to be found, so we should go into our default here. when this guy starts up. Yep, come on. Come on. Here we go. So the symbol entered is invalid or not found, whichever your terminology is. It's gone here in this default area. So that's, well, the last thing, well, a critical thing with the switch, you might think it can only accept this sort of char value in here. That is not true. I'll just grab this little guy here. This more or less does the same thing, but with one slight difference. You see we're passing here an integer, a number value into our comparison. So that's the difference. The last one was we had a char value, and this one we're passing in a number value. So these ones won't even come into play because they're looking for a character, but this one will work because we're passing a 1 and that will equal 1. Let's just put in here 3, we'll run 2 tests. So that's just demonstrating that you can use an integer value and a char value in your switch statements. So my favorite symbol is 1. There we go. So this guy here. So I compared that to that, found him, and did his magic. Just to show that everything is working fine. I put in 3, so now it should go into this area here. Come on, supercomputer. Oh, don't crash on me now. Here we go. It's just taking a little bit of time. While we're waiting for that, I guess. Okay, sorry, got distracted. So here we go. We've got our symbol 3 is written out. So it's pretty straightforward stuff there. Right. So that's that one. That's our switch statement sort of explained. Okay, so where was I? I was just going to show you this guy here. I'll demonstrate these two in one, because they're really not that complicated. Even so, when you're first starting out, everything can be complicated. C#, there is a lot of concepts to learn. So yeah, we've got two constructs in here in one. The first one here, we're just using a int variable. This is called a while loop. So all that does is goes round and round and round, does something in here. In this case, it'll do it until this reaches the value of 30. With while loops, a little bit different than for loops. You notice here I've got to increase that value. If I took that out, this will go forever because he will be equaling 0 and he will never reach 30. So while loops can be a little bit dangerous in that sense. All we're doing here is putting that to the screen, so it'll go from 1 to 30, we'll see come up. Here in our next statement, we all we're demonstrating here is it's what called is an if statement, and all an if statement basically allows you to do what it is if something is true, then do the action inside. Else, in this case, do something else. That's roughly the logic of an if statement. So in this case, we're looking to see if this message, if this variable holds this information here, and if so, write this line out. Otherwise, do this line. And we can see here we've already set our message to "Are we cool?" And of course we are. And so this will go to true. And so at this stage, this line will be printed out. So let's give all that a go. So there we have it. So that's printed out the numbers 1 to 30, as you can see here. And we can see, yes, we are very cool. Not just cool, but very cool. So that's come out as well. Right, so that was the while loop, the 4 if statements, switch statements. There is something what called a do while loop, various statements, but these are your basic ones. Some you might hardly ever use, and some you'll use more than others. Cool. So we are going to briefly look at references as well, because I want you new people out there to have an understanding of this whole environment. A lot of these topics that I'm mentioning here, you're going to use in a desktop app, you're going to use in a web app, many different apps. So they're all related to those technologies. So what is references? Here now references. This is basically what it is. So if we look at all these guys here, these can be used because of the references added in here. So these are all related. You can see the system here. He resides in that guy. So if we take him out, like that, and if we try to run things here now, it will most probably break. Famous last words. Oh, it worked. There you go. So, I do tell a lie. Basically, when you create a certain app or a certain process, whether it's web app, Microsoft automatically gives you references that your app needs. In that case, we didn't need this system. But anyway, I could take out some more, but well, why not? Let's just do it quickly. Yeah. I wanted to break something. Anyway. So that's still building, but normally, yes, if you take something out here, if you remove a reference, something in your project might no longer work, which is not the case in this sense. So now we're going to show the process of adding a reference, and we're going to do that by adding what is called a class library. So to do all this, we have to add, or in this case, we're adding a new project. And it's going to be this class library guy. Call him our it's with an R, class library. That looks good to me. And then after, we're going to add this guy to this reference area here. Let's give this something a bit more meaningful. Maths functions. So you typically do this sort of technique. Yep. You typically do this sort of technique. Just say this whole library just does math functions, and your core process needs those things, but you want to break it down. You don't want to put all of your processes in one. So this could do math functions. You could have one that does deals with text functions, like adding text together. So you break up all your processes. Public int multiply. Okay. One, two, return number 1 times number, hello. Okay, there we go. So all we're going to do here is multiply whatever's passed into here by each other, and return that result. So this process here is quite straightforward. Now, for this project here, to use this guy here and to use all its functions in here, what we do is we add in as a reference. So, and this is done. You can add loads of references in here. So this is what I was talking about when we remove some of those references. They all exist in here. You can add them back in. So wherever that system guy was, we can add him back in if we want. So you just click on him, click OK, and it will be added in there. We don't need that guy. We're looking for our class here reference to add in. And that's going to be under the solution tab. And here's our class. Oh, I did actually miss something. We probably should build this first. Let's build that first. So once it's all built, when we reference it now, it'll reference it correctly. So add reference, our solution there, that guy there, click OK. And as you can see here, we've added it in. There it is. That's our class library. So now, if it'll allow me, okay, man. Let's do the old split screen. Let's get rid of this code. So there's there he is. Okay, CLS. Oh, I'm missing something, of course. Silly me. Yes, silly me. We've got a colon function. CLS. So now int result. Let's call it something specific. There's that function, as we can see from our class library. Pass it 2 times 2. And so as you can see now, we can actually call this class. That's the first of all class definition, and then we can call its function in there. So as you can probably appreciate, you can break down your project a lot just using this simple technique. This is an old technique. There's nothing new with this process, but it's very useful. Oh, let's put we didn't see the magic. It's very simple, it's very easy, and well, that's always a good thing. Console.read line. Oh, sorry, my mistake again. We're still going to see blank. See, this is what happens when you rush things. Of course, it's blank. Yes, we know that, because we haven't written to the screen. Okay, so now 2 times 2 equals 4. So that's what we should see on the screen here. There we go, there's our number 4. Pretty simple stuff in that sense. So we've communicated to our function, which is over here, got the result, and put it over here. So that's references as well. So it's important to know what this area of your projects here is about. And this is common whether you're creating a web app, a desktop app, console app, many different other apps. So it's important to know. Okay. So yeah, I hope this tutorial has been of some use to you guys. Please subscribe to my channel, and more stuff to come later. Thank you. Bye.